Welcome to class, guys. We've got a great combination spinning class today. Originally, I planned on doing a kicking in Bojitsu class. My hamstring tightened up on me, unfortunately, so we've modified the class plan. So we have a great class plan for us today. Let's bow in. Attention and bow. Hope everyone's having a great day today. Make sure that you guys get off the couch, following along. I'm going to be using a mix of my graphite bow today as well as my rattan bow. We're going to start off with a spinning warm-up. So we're just going to be doing various spins. I'll periodically be checking my lesson plan. We're going to start off with a two-handed flourish. So following along with me, guys, and all we're going to do is just warming up, just working on that nice smooth figure eight flourish. I really want to make sure that I'm focusing on using my wrists and not trying to power the bow through. If you'll notice, it flows much more nicely when I can get my wrists incorporated into the action, okay? So what we'll do from there is we're going to try and shift and switch at the same time. We want to try and get like a smooth motion whenever we're making those transitions. So feel free to switch it up maybe after 5 rotations, just on your own. And if you'll notice, I'm changing my backhand to the front hand each time I switch stances. So it's not just my feet switching, it's my hands as well. Many times, guys, when I've done this one, I've clipped my shins. So we want to make sure that we're controlled speed, I guess is what you could say. From here, all we're going to do is switch again, and I'm going to move into a one-handed flourish. I like this one quite a bit, and if you'll notice, I'm going to start my hand in the middle of the bow, and I just shift it up about half a fist length. The reason I do that is because it weighs the end of the bow, and it actually lets me get a little bit more rotational speed on it when I'm going through. If you'll notice, I'm opening up my hand and letting my wrist do a lot of the work on this one. Just a nice smooth movement back and forth. Okay, and then we can also make that switch too while we're going across. And again, I'm trying to make sure that I'm opening up my hand. Try and keep that spin fairly tight to the body, not so close that we're going to clip ourselves though. So initially when I first started, it was out quite wide. As you get more comfortable with it, try and keep it in tighter to your body. And if you'll notice, I have just a little bit of body sway as I'm going back and forth, and that's helping me manipulate the bow, okay? So you can just switch that one periodically, okay? The other one we can do is I'm going to start my hand from the middle, and I'm going to shift it down about half a fist length, and then we can actually move into reverse flourishes, going back and forth. So this one actually feels quite a bit smoother for me. It's just, I guess, a matter of preference. You might prefer the forward. This one's the reverse. It's kind of like a therapeutic way to warm up, I find. And then I'm going to switch, trying to keep that flow going. It's all on the wrist. It's a nice, smooth movement. I try not to keep it up too high. I guess you could if you wanted to. But to me, it makes most sense. I just graze the side of my dobok, okay? Trying to keep it, my hand about shoulder height, I guess you could say. Okay, the next spinning technique we're going to do for our warm-up is going to be alternating. So we're going to alternate that flourish, and I'm going to be doing a butterfly on the side as I do it. So I'm going to start coming around and then switch. Coming around and switch. So if you'll notice, I do a butterfly on the one side. There's all kinds of variations we can do on this one. You could start with 2 hands, go back to 2 hands. That's the one that we're going to be working on, so I'm going to go back and forth and then switch, 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 and then I'm going to switch my feet, and then I'm going to come around, switch, go to one hand, switch. That was not the greatest transition. Switch. Good. Next one we're going to work on, guys, kind of breezing through our warm-up. We just want to kind of get our upper body limbered up. I'm going to get into like a horse riding stance. I'm going to hold the bow on the center line. I'm going to do some butterflies. For those that aren't familiar with butterflies, I'm going to do a very quick tutorial. Holding my hand in front on the center line, my left hand is going to stay on top of my right wrist the whole time. If I open up both hands, it looks like a butterfly. Okay, so it just stays up there. So I'm going to go thumbs down, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs up. Doing it this way might take a little bit longer to get used to. It is going to ultimately make your butterfly much more quick, as opposed to when a lot of people first learn, they'll just kind of switch their hands like this as fast as they can. Some people can get it pretty fast like that, but this way it's going to have just like a nice smooth flow, and you'll never have to worry about running out of bow, because if you keep following that same path, you're going to run out of bow. So we're just going to move along. I've dropped my bow many times when I've been doing this when I first started learning. You can eventually get it so that you're not looking at the bow. Just going at like a nice steady pace right now. You can speed it up accordingly. Just nice, smooth movement. Take the time to do it right-handed and left-handed. It is a very good forearm workout. So this is with my right hand on the bottom, and if you'll notice, the bow is spinning to my right, clockwise. Okay. Now I'm going to start with my left hand. I'm going to hold the left hand out. I'm going to put my right hand on top. So now I'm spinning it counterclockwise. If you'll notice, thumbs down. Now my right hand always stays on top of the bow as I go through. Right hand's always on top. I make my transition when both palms are up, and then I'm going to come around. Both thumbs are down. Both palms are up. Both thumbs are down. Okay? And you'll notice, if you watch my arms, you can actually start pumping the bow. I was working on this with Richard, sir, one of our instructors locally, and he noted that the more you pump these elbows, the faster you can spin the bow. So it's just putting a little bit of power behind it, I guess you could say. So just a practice of watching your hands to make sure you've got nice technique, and then practicing. You could practice with your eyes closed. You could watch yourself. You could film like how I am, and then just building on that. You want to get it so eventually that you don't have to look at your bow, so that you're so comfortable, so that your muscles know what to do. Last one we're going to do. It's just going to be a butterfly with a behind the back movement. So I'm going to hold the bow. I'm just going to be in like a parallel stance. I'm going to bring the bow up, come across. I'm going to go thumb to thumb, bring it across, and then spin it in that same butterfly movement. I'm going to bring it around, thumb to thumb behind my back, up, spin it around. Now, if you have a heavier bow, this one taxes the wrists quite a bit. So you want to be gentle with your wrists, or careful that you don't get that wrist injury. That'll hamper your training. So again, this is a nice one. It's just like a flow warm-up. You can do this over your head. You could come across, up over the head, around the back, or you could do it in the front. Anything that you want, really. You could incorporate doing side shuffles while you're doing it. You could come across, and then you could go back the other way, coming across. So it's whatever you prefer. So I'm just starting this one off just with a clockwise butterfly around my back. And if you'll notice, when I come around, I kind of dip my shoulder in, and then I rip it up. And what that does is it really adds some speed. It works well with a graphite or a lightweight bow, but if you're using a rattan bow, a hardwood staff, something that's heavier, it is a lot harder on the wrists when you do it that way. So now we're going to go the other way. So I'm going to start with my left hand on top, bring it around. Now it's going to start on my right side, come out on my left, and I bring it around. One of the most therapeutic warm-ups there is for bow is just some light spinning. It does help a lot with the hand-eye coordination of the bow, not having to look where you're making your hand transitions. Just that comfort level with the bow. Okay, let's grab a quick drink, and then we're going to get into our combinations. We're going to be starting off with a push block overhead front strike. A lot of this one, we're going to gradually build up, and we're going to get into a little bit more visual techniques with some spinning. We're going to start with some pretty practical ones to start off, though. One of my go-tos to start is always going to be a push block overhead front strike. Is what I like to do with that one is I'm going to start in a right dominant. I'm going to drop the tip of the bow, sweep it across, push block. I want to time it so that my foot lands the same time the bow is completing the block. Chamber, strike. Now an ultimate bow overhead front strike, I'm pushing and chambering. I come down, my hands kind of moves up against my waist or my hip, and it stops. I slide my hand back and I snap my wrist. It's going to give me a really nice polished technique. I want to make sure that I have a nice posture on that one as well. Show you from a different angle. I'm going to push block, chamber, overhead front strike. Okay, let's pop off 10 per side on that one, guys, or about 10. I'll chat while we're going. Okay, so push block, overhead front strike. Okay, that would be one. I'm going to give you guys different angles. And 2, 3, 4. Of course, you could do a key up at the end of every strike. It does make it feel like a lot stronger and more impressive. The way I like to work on these basic techniques, guys, is I really focus on checking my stance after each movement and also making sure I get all the check marks. So am I twisting my wrist? Am I sliding my hand down the bow? What does my posture look like? Am I getting a nice controlled chamber? There's a difference between a push block and then just bringing my hand around for a loosey-goosey overhead front strike, or having a nice controlled one where I'm pushing, chamber, strike. Very stark difference. Let's go to the left-hand side. Okay, so for those of us that are right dominant, this side might feel a little bit awkward. I'm going to push block, chamber, overhead front strike. Again, I want to make sure I'm ticking off all those boxes. Push block, nice solid chamber, overhead front strike. My hand's coming back and it's tightening right when that bow's on my hip and I have that nice 45-degree angle along the bow. Let's pop off 10 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Check those stances, guys. That's a big one. And 10. Good. Okay, next one we're going to be working on is going to be very similar. Angle block, overhead front strike. For this one, when we do the angle block, we're going to focus on getting into a nice, strong 50-50 back stance. So I'm going to be in a fighting stance. Slide back. Now, if you'll notice, I'm in a back stance 50-50. I'm going to chamber and do an overhead front strike. And if you'll notice, I'm going from a back stance to a forward stance. I want clear stance definition when I'm going in between the two. So I'm in that forward stance. Coming down, if you'll notice, my bow, it has about a 45-degree angle to it, and the tip is down, okay? So I'm using a graphite bow for this one, but it is a very traditional strike, and it would be appropriate to use a wood bow, but I've got my graphite one out, so that's the one I'm going to work with today. Okay, so we're going to go angle block. Nice strong chamber, overhead front strike. Checking my stance to make sure I'm in a nice forward stance. Okay, together with me, guys, we're going to do the first few a little bit more slowly. Angle block, chamber, strike. That's 1. Again, and number 2, angle block, chamber, strike. Snap your hips into it when you're making those stance transitions for additional polish. My fighting stance, angle block, chamber, overhead front strike. If you're feeling that you've got like a nice flow to it, remove the hesitation and make the transition between the stances and the block and the strike more quickly. Okay, and let's say we're on number 3, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is one heck of a shoulders workout, especially if you're working out with a hardwood bow. They're very heavy. And 10. And switch. Okay. Now we're in that left dominant. Okay, so I'm going to 50-50 back stance, chamber, overhead front strike. My hands are getting pretty sweaty, guys. Hopefully this bow doesn't fly through and hit the screen, okay? Next one. Sorry, continuing on. Angle block, chamber, strike. Okay, let's do 8 more. And 1. You can add those key ups too. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. Good. Shake it out. Let's grab a quick water, guys. The water is probably more for me than anyone. I'm going to clean off my bow. It's very sweaty. Okay. I am going to use my hardwood bow for this one. Actually, sorry, my rattan bow. I like this one a lot. We're going to go to a reverse grip. Do a slightly new concept. Maybe not a new concept, but something a little bit different. I'm going to hold out the bow and do a side block. So I'm going to be here, block, and then I'm going to come down, and it would be like an angle 8 strike, striking on the crown of the head. Now, I can't block by just bringing the bow across. I have to bring it up, and then I'm going to come around and chamber. If you'll notice, my hips are snapping into this one. And as what that does is, by using that twitch muscle, it's going to help with the momentum coming down with the bow. So there's a big difference between striking like that, coming around and striking like that. If you notice, I twitch my hips right as I'm going through my target. So I'm not going to just stop right here. I'm going to do my block, and I go through, right through on that angle 8 strike. So it could come right down the bridge or the crown of the head. It would be very effective still if you didn't have perfect aim and you came down and struck the collarbone instead. We're going to do 10 of these. So we're going to start in a right dominant. My fist should be about 1 fist length off the tip of the bow. This would be the tip of the bow, striking with the heel of the bow on this one. And all I'm going to be doing is block. So I'm imagining something comes in on a circular type motion, maybe a baseball bat swing, something like that. And I'm coming across and I'm blocking it. From there, I'm turning around. So I'm using the momentum of the bow, and it's got that giant windmill motion going all the way across. Let's work this one together. And 1. Key up at the end would be beautiful. And 2. 3. 4. 5. You can also move around, pretend you're sparring. Make it as realistic as possible. And 6. 7. 8. 9. And 10. Good, we're going to switch sides now, guys. I'm in that right dominant, sorry, left dominant. Left foot's in front. I'm gonna block, bring it around, and twitch my hips. Now, if you're left-handed, this probably is gonna feel pretty good for you. If you're right-handed, might feel a little bit awkward. Reps is the key, okay? Side block, strike. We want them to be fairly smooth, not too much of a delay because that's not realistic. And 2, 3. Twitch those hips. 4, 5, 6, 7. I am sweating pretty good here, guys. I hope you are too. 8, 9, and 10. Good. Shake it out. I tell you, bow is one of the best upper body workouts that a person can get in. Okay, the next one we're going to work on, it's going to be a sweep, overhead front strike, followed with a forward thrust. I'm going to go back to my graphite bow just to mix things up, I guess. Either is fine, okay? So I'm going to go sweep. When I'm doing my sweep, I want to come around and through my target. I don't want to just stop. That'd be more of a knee strike. Okay, so I'm sweeping through my target, and I want a nice smooth chamber into my overhead front strike. I'm going to rechamber and do a forward thrust. Now, when I do that forward thrust, I want to chamber it directly behind, and then I snap my hips into it, and I use my wrists and twist them as well. Okay, so we're going to go through that one again. This is how it looks full speed. Okay, together with me, we're going to go sweep, overhead front strike, chamber, thrust. If you'll notice my stance, I have a nice long forward stance. My back leg is straight. My front knee is bent. Weight distribution is about 70-30 on the front. Okay, again with me, I'm going to go sweep, chamber. I want that chamber right on my shoulder so I can get maximum power. Overhead front strike, again, I'm having all the proper mechanics on that overhead front strike. Chamber, thrust. My bow should be nice and horizontal on that forward thrust, okay? Let's cycle this one together, okay? First thing I'm going to do, starting with the sweep, okay? On my count, and 1. Keep in mind we want smooth transitions in between each part within the combination. 2, 3. If you'll notice, I'm really trying to focus on a hip snap at the end. Helps quite a bit with the power. 3, 4, 5. Nice strong key up at the end is very impressive on this one. 6, 8, 7, 8. Let's do 2 more, guys, okay? Feel free to let those key ups out. They feel great. Maybe you'll get some attention in the house so people start watching you. 9. And 10. And switch, okay? So now we're going to a left dominant. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Sweep, chamber, overhead front strike, chamber, thrust. Now when I do that thrust, I still want to make sure I'm twisting my wrists and that I'm getting a nice, strong hip snap in there as well, okay? Together with me. And 1, sweep, chamber, overhead front strike, chamber, thrust. 2, sweep, chamber, overhead front strike, chamber, thrust. 3, sweep, chamber, overhead front strike, chamber, thrust. 4, try and move for a little bit more smooth movement within the transitions. Okay, and go. Let's say we're on 6. 6. 7. 8. Check that stance at the end. We really want to make sure we're in a good forward stance. 2 more. 9. Last one, 10. Good, shake it out. Let's use our sweat rag. I got sweat rags, guys, because I sweat so bad when I'm doing martial arts, which is one of the reasons I like it. Okay, next one we're gonna work on. We're gonna do a double overhead front strike. Sorry, a double 360 overhead front strike. I'll show you guys what it looks like. This one's very satisfying to do. Very smooth transition. We're going to just do a brief overview on this one. I'm going to start in a right dominant position. I'm going to drop the tip of the bow down. My left hand is going to push the bow as I rotate my body 180 degrees. I'm going to spin. I'm going to get in, this is the exact same position, only I'm facing the opposite direction now. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to spin it. This time I'm catching it and chambering it on my shoulder. I'm going to step forward and finish with a strike. I want to make sure that I'm finishing with a nice, solid, clean strike. I'm going to show you guys the difference between a strong finish and one where you're just going through the motions. So going through the motions would look like this, which it flows very nicely, but there's nothing behind it. So if you've got the technique down, a couple of opportunities to make it more polished would be a faster hand spin, and then when I finish, a nice strong overhead front strike. So I'm landing nice and powerful. You should hear that hand coming to the side of the hip, and it just stops there on a dime. I'm snapping my wrist. The bow has that nice 45-degree angle to it. Okay, we're going to go through it step by step for the first couple. So number 1, drop the tip of the bow to my right side with my right foot in front. I'm going to spin it and do a 180-degree turn, catching it in the exact same position that I started with initially, and then I'm going to spin it again. My feet should be shoulder width apart or hips apart, okay? And then I step and strike. I don't want to dip or lean into the strike. Very bad training habit, and it doesn't make the technique look impressive. This is a very modern technique. It is fun just to get that creative flow going, and it's just kind of a nice mix of like modern and traditional with that nice finishing strike. Okay, so again, dropping the tip on my right hand side, push, spin, strike, making sure I keep that nice chamber at the end. Okay, number 2, we're just going to gradually go a little bit quicker. Now, if you're using a graphite bow or a hardwood bow for that matter, or rattan, you should be able to, once you're feeling confident with this one, that you can spin it hard enough that you can actually hear it swooshing in the air. It's a really satisfying feeling when you can get the bow to do that. It just shows like a real nice manipulation of it and mastery. Okay, so again, I can hear it. I don't know if you guys can on camera or not, but I'll spin it a little bit faster. Maybe you guys can hear it. I'll try not to lose my bow and have it fly through the screen at you. Good, and if you'll notice, I'm pushing it quite hard. You guys a different angle. Very careful when you do this one that you don't clip your head when you're spinning it that fast. It will hurt a lot. Let's do 6 more. 1, If you notice, I'm trying to stop the bow on a dime at the end, showing high level of control. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Good. I'm going to switch sides. Let's go left dominant. Same thing. So again, if you're right-handed, this one might feel a little awkward. We're going to start with our left foot in front, tip of the bow in front of me, drop the tip of the bow, and as I push and spin, my back foot comes around, and I go back to the starting position, only I'm facing the opposite direction. Spin and catch. It's already chambered. Strike. Okay, I don't do this one on the left side enough. It doesn't feel the same as the right for me, which means I need more reps on the left side, but it comes with time. Good. Let's count this one out together. Let's do 10, okay? And 1. Backing up. It's just a nice flow drill to move across the room. I can actually back up here and I'll go a couple times. If you have the outdoor space, this one's really fun to do. And then I just bring it back. And then I switch sides, or switch directions. Do a couple more that go on this way. Haven't clipped my head yet. We're doing great. Okay, getting a little bit dizzy when you do them that quickly, though. Let's do a couple more. I'm going to do them facing the back wall so you guys can follow along if you'd like. Chambered, tip down, spin, capture, spin, capture, strike. Should be on a pretty straight line if you pay attention to the footwork. One more, just for good measure. Spin, capture, spin, capture, overhead front strike. Good work, guys. We got one more to go before we bow out. I am sweating pretty good, guys. Hope you are too. Okay, last one's going to be a fun one. So if you're ready for it, we're going to start in a 50-50 back stance with a knife hand block. And I have the bow behind my arm. All I'm going to do is I'm going to come up over the head, around the back, overhead front strike. Now I want to time this one so that I'm landing my strike when my foot lands. It adds to the polish, makes it look more clean. This is a tough one to get the proper mechanics down with a really heavy bow because the timing is harder, the spin's not quite as fast. So it is doable though, okay? So again, we're in that 50-50 back stance, okay? Over the head, I'm going pinky to pinky, and I'm in a parallel stance, okay? Now I'm gonna keep spinning to my left, and I'm gonna go thumb to thumb. If you'll notice, I'm in a forward stance now. All I do is I let go with my left hand, and I bring the bow up and capture it towards the heel end. And then I step forward into that overhead front strike. Let's do that again. In that 50-50 back stance, pinky to pinky, parallel stance, thumb to thumb, forward stance, capture, strike. As you get more comfortable with it, try and move through it slowly, but with flow. So it would look like this: pinky, pinky, thumb, thumb, chamber, strike. Okay, again, a little bit more slowly. Pinky to pinky, parallel stance. Thumb to thumb, forward stance, bringing it around as I step into my strike. Now, when I'm doing that overhead front strike, I still have that wrist snap and that hand slide. I want to make sure that I still have the nice technical details because it's a very clean way to finish that technique. It's flashy, but it finishes with power. Very modern technique. Okay. Pinky to pinky, thumb to thumb, overhead front strike. Let's count these off, okay? pinky to pinky, thumb to thumb, 1. Okay, a little bit faster now, and 2. 3. And 4. Coming right at you guys. And 5. 6. First time I was ever doing this technique on camera, guys, I was doing it for a pre-recorded class. I clipped the back of my mic. It went flying off. I had to reshoot the whole section. It was a hilarious way to film a very first class. Hasn't happened to me on a live class yet. Okay, over the head, around the back, strike. Okay, let's go this way. Coming up, over, around, and strike. Landing in that nice, clean posture stance, nice, strong forward stance, keeping this back leg straight, front knee bent, gives it a very nice, clean finish. Again, pinky to pinky, thumb to thumb, overhead front strike. Let's switch directions, or switch hands, sorry. This one might feel very awkward if you're right-handed and haven't got much practice in. Same principles though. Pinky to pinky, thumb to thumb in a forward stance, bring the bow around. Now if you'll watch, I flip it. I catch with my right hand towards the heel, overhead front strike. And again, the stance at the end, if it's nice and clean and strong, it really makes the technique look impressive. The old school basics, they still apply. It doesn't matter how modern your technique is. If you have old school good stances, it makes it look even better. Thumb to thumb, pinky to pinky, thumb to thumb, grab, strike. Nice, strong forward stance at the end. Let's do that again. Okay, pinky to pinky, parallel stance, thumb to thumb, forward stance, chambering, strike. Okay, let's do some of these free. Okay, and 1. Feel free to speed it up or slow it down as much as you need. And let's say we're on number 3. 3. Nice strong key up at the end is good too, guys. And 4. Aye. 5. Different direction. And 6. 7. Lost my grip. Following along with me. 8. 9. Last one, 10. I'm getting very dizzy. You'll notice when I do the hand transition, I am trying to get my hands up quite high. The reason I do that is if I'm spinning and get it up nice and high, it sometimes looks like there's an extra revolution in there if you're spinning your body and your bow at the same time. Okay, guys, that concludes our class. We're going to bow out. And I'm going to stick around for a little bit if anyone has any questions. Okay, attention, and bow. Thanks for training with me, guys. If you want to train with me more, check out Global Martial Arts University. Always welcome people to train with me or any of the other instructors. We got a great gang, and we're always looking to increase our size and our ability to share martial arts with other people. Okay, if anyone has any questions, feel free to type away. I am sweating, but I hope everyone else is too. Okay. No questions means that either everyone's really tired or they're all sleeping on their couches. Have a great day, guys. Thanks for training with me. Thanks, Kyle.